Facing a growing backlash over a looming trade war with China, President Donald Trump seems to have done a U-turn on the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal. Originally, the TPP involved 12 countries, including the US, and was conceived under former President Barack Obama as a way to counter China's surging power in the Asia-Pacific region. With great nationalist fanfare, President Trump yanked America out of the trade pact, which he'd promised to do, and he did do, which was finally signed by 11 countries, including New Zealand, but not including the US. Now the US president is suggesting one way to get China's attention would be to do more business with other Pacific nations. You guessed it, as in the members of the TPP. Confused? Well, our political editor, Jane Patterson, isn't.
The Trans-Pacific Partnership is another disaster, done and pushed by special interests who want to rape our country. Just a continuing rape of our country. That's what it is, too. It's a harsh word. It's a rape of our country. This is done by wealthy people that want to take
Donald Trump pulling no punches on the campaign trail in 2016, and he withdrew the US from the deal in one of his first acts as president. But now he's coming under pressure from politicians in his own party, representing states who supported him in his presidential bid. Nebraska's Republican Congressman Don Bacon delivered a blunt message to Mr. Trump.
The farm prices are half what they were in 2014, and that we can't take much more of a beating for many of these farms go under. So we need to move forward fastly on trade and get this agriculture economy moving up again.
Republican Senator Ben Sasse, who was also at the meeting, said there had been progress.
The big headline coming out of this meeting is that the president said he was deputizing Larry Kudlow and Ambassador Lighthizer to look at re-entering the TPP negotiations. The president multiple times reaffirmed in general to all of us and looked right at Larry Kudlow and said, Larry, go get it done.
The Trade Minister David Parker says the move is not something New Zealand would ignore.
Of course, the United States is the largest economy in the world, and it's one of the two superpowers alongside China, so their comments are of interest to us. How real this proposed engagement is, we don't know. Some of the things were said at Davos. The American system is very complex, and the administration has many parts, and not all parts of them have the same view, so we're not sure where this ends.
Former trade negotiator Charles Finney says if Mr. Trump is serious, it would be a good thing for New Zealand. He says Donald Trump is facing new pressures as the row between the US and China over tariffs escalates.
The Chinese have been very clever in targeting products that would really hurt some of the key Trump support states should they go ahead with this proposed tariff increase in the United States. So he's under pressure, and this is quite a convenient way of relieving that pressure for a while.
But Mr. Finney believes any renegotiation of the TPP would not be easy.
Because we've got a signed agreement, everyone knows what's in it, and it will just be so much more difficult for any new party to demand major changes. And if there were to be major changes, there'd have to be quite a good price paid for that.
Former Trade Minister Todd McClay says Mr. Trump would want a lot more than was in the original TPP, which is why he withdrew the US in the first place. He says even though in principle a deal for New Zealand would be advantageous, it would be hard to accept new demands.
The renegotiated deal, the strategy was to hold back things America really wanted, but keep the market access there so that, US exporters were missing out. If Mr. Trump now is saying he's interested in re-engaging on the TPP, it tells me the strategy New Zealand put in place is working, but it would always be a very difficult negotiation.
Executive Director of the International Business Forum, Stephen Jacoby, says while he's not opposed to the idea of the US returning to the deal, there would be major challenges. He says the sticking point for the US had been intellectual property provisions.
Patent terms, protections for pharmaceuticals and better access for US medicines and drugs and things like that everybody finds rather complicated to deal with. So there wasn't a lot of objection when those things were removed. But it was this chapter, the IP chapter, that was not acceptable to the US Congress, which was why President Obama couldn't move forward.
New Zealand signed the revised deal in Chile last month and aims to ratify it by the end of the year. The deal will come into effect once it's been ratified by at least half of the member countries. From Parliament for Checkpoint, Jane Patterson.